Welcome to the Downtime from WTWH Media with your hosts, Sarah Wynn and Sheri Kasprzak, bringing you everything you need to know from the week in manufacturing.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Downtime. I am Sarah Wynn with
Sheri Kasprzak, and thank you all so much for joining us on another episode of the Downtime. We're always happy to have you.
Yes, and this is the only downtime you need on your line, in your life. We're here for you. You know what, Sheri, I just want to say, hey yo.
Hey yo.
We're ready to go. We got a lot on deck. You want to break it down for us, Sheri?
We have such a big episode ahead of us, Sarah. Oh my gosh. We have tariffs. We have Women in the Trades Day coming up June 15th. So we're going to have some conversations with some amazing women in the trades. They're so inspirational. Love chatting with them. And we've got National Safety Month. I'm telling you, this episode is chock full. Over at Plant Engineering and Control Engineering, on our LinkedIn pages, which you should be following, by the way, we have been featuring some of our great safety content. Plant Engineering and Control Engineering, follow us on LinkedIn. You're going to find a wealth of safety content for National Safety Month. And we'll be diving into that a little bit later, more to come. Then we're going to have what's new at Packaging OEM. And we're going to wrap up this episode with something I'm excited about. It's something new we've never done before. In honor of National Safety Month, we're going to read some Reddit workplace safety horror stories. So brace yourselves. All right, so
There's a lot on deck. And if you're watching on video, I'm just going to say watch till the end. We have props.
Yes. Brace yourselves.
Brace yourselves. Okay, let's go. Tariffs.
All right. So earlier this week, President Trump put into effect a 50% steel and aluminum tariff. It's an across-the-board tariff, excluding the UK. There's the caveat. Earlier this week, I was incredibly fortunate to get a couple of really great interviews. One was with Gene Marks. He is an internationally renowned columnist. He's a CPA, and he offered some really great advice to manufacturers who want to get ahead of the tariffs, who are really concerned about how they can source steel and aluminum in the current tariff environment. And I loved some of his insights. You can head over to plantengineering.com. My article is live there. We'll also link it in the show description and on all of our social channels, so you can go check us out there. But one of the things that Gene said that really stuck out to me was that you got to move now. There are options for you, including sourcing either domestically or from the UK, but there's a lot of pressure on manufacturers to move quickly because there's going to come a time when the supply runs low, and when there's limited supply and a run on a material, it's going to, really push the prices up. There's going to be pressure on prices. Another couple of things that he suggested are bonded warehouses and free trade zones. If you're not familiar with what those are, bonded warehouses are basically logistics or warehouse, places where you can, a company can store their raw materials or goods without paying tariffs. The only time you'll pay a tariff in a bonded warehouse is when you remove them for export. And that's kind of a waiting game for some manufacturers. If some of these tariffs can be negotiated, that's the time to take out your goods and you pay a reduced tariff on them. A free trade zone is a place within a country where you can, and they're usually near ports. So a free trade zone is a place that is exempt from, some tariffs. We'll get into that in the article, but you can definitely go check it out at plantengineering.com. Manufacturers are bracing for these heftier steel and aluminum costs. So a lot of great advice there. I also talked to an analyst, Nevin Barrich. Now, Nevin kind of said that he thought that this might cause some supply chain disruptions. Gene didn't agree, by the way. He thinks that it's just going to cause some economic slowdowns. But we can get more into that in the article. Nevin feels that there could be supply chain disruptions because there'll be higher input costs. And there will definitely be broader economic impacts. So go check out my article over at planengineering.com. A lot of great insights there if you want to do a deeper dive. So was really lucky to get those insights from Jean and Nevin. So really appreciate that.
Yes, thank you so much, Sheri, for sharing that. It's very important for our audience, and it's an ever-changing topic right now. I do like to call Sheri the tariff queen, and I haven't officially went on record with that. I'm going to do it right now. Sheri, the tariff queen Kasprzak.
Thank you.
So I appreciate.
Yeah, I want a crown. Where's my crown?
Oh man, more props, more props. Okay.
So what do you have for us, Sarah?
Oh, Sheri, a really important day is coming up, June 15th. You want to tell us about it?
Absolutely, I do. It is National Women in the Trades Day. And we had the honor of chatting with some amazing women in the trades. We got some interviews with Hoosier Feeder. We love our folks over at Hoosier Feeder, Morrison Container Handling Solutions, Reliance Worldwide. We have a bunch of interviews from multiple people who are women in the trades. So, Sarah, what was your favorite thing about chatting with some of these amazing women?
Mm-hmm. Sheri, it's hard to pick a favorite. We talked to so many amazing women. We talked with Amber Fritz, who we actually met at PAC Expo Southeast. Yeah. She's in the Georgia Women in Manufacturing chapter. She was a pleasure to talk to. And then, of course, we spoke with marketing specialists from Hoosier Feeder and from Morrison Container Handling Solutions. That conversation was great, and we're going to play that one for you next. It's a unique take because one of them, Ashley, who we spoke with, grew up around cars, around building stuff, and now she gets to work with people and help support them create feeder bowls, create machines, stuff like that. And then you look at Morrison, and Morrison's unique in that it has a female CEO. Nancy Wilson runs that company, and then of course our friend Allison Wagner is the marketing lead there, and we spoke with Mia, who works with Allison over at Morrison. So it's a great conversation. It's about women entering the manufacturing space and owning it and making it their own.
We run this. Yeah.
Girls. Yeah, so I appreciate you both for joining us. And Ashley, we've been in contact quite a bit this week, and I greatly appreciate your help. Could you just tell me a little bit more about your role at Hoosier Feeder and how you ended up at Hoosier Feeder?
Yeah, so I am the marketing content specialist here at Hoosier Feeder. It's a very exciting and interesting role, whereas no day is ever like the day before. It's also never like what I plan it to be either. So it's a lot of getting to go out and actually take part in the final or the finalization, I guess you could say, of every project that leaves Hoosier Feeder. So whether that's a vibratory feeder bowl or centrifugal or conveyor system, every project that leaves here gets a manual. And as part of that process, we also capture video and photo of the whole entire project. That way, if we ever have to build it again, the guys have dimensions and things that they need access to. And then on the other side of that, for marketing purposes, we have just a plethora of video and imagery that we can use for website for promoting, things like that. So that's a lot of what I do, is kind of the writing of social media, documenting things, and just a little bit of everything. We're a small shop, so we all wear a lot of hats. So, while my main competency here is marketing, we all pitch in and fill in the gap wherever needed.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Ashley. And we love Hoosier Feeder on social, so you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Mia, tell us a little bit about your background as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I am the marketing specialist here at Morrison. I'm coming up on my third year. It is flying by. Very similar to Ashley, we're a small marketing team. We handle everything in-house. So we're very scrappy. We wear a bunch of different hats, from our trade show planning and execution to our email marketing to our support of sales to all of our digital marketing, our website updates and management. That kind of falls underneath my bucket. And it's really cool because I get to use my degree and build new skills while I'm here and learn more about the industry. So I love it, and I'm learning something new every day.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Yeah. To both of you, like, what kind of appeals to you about something that's more trade focused? I don't like, was that kind of where you saw your career going, or what was it about your specific industry that kind of led you down that path?
Trade shows is actually not something I ever saw being in my career path or something that I would have such a role in. It's something really important to our industry. We get to meet our customers where they're at, and that's where a lot of people are going to the shows. It's a great communication tool and meeting tool as well. I fall more into the organization of everything and set up and tear down. And it actually has helped me a lot in my personal life, just being organized and planning ahead and doing big events like that. So it really helps with the rest of our marketing efforts throughout the year. Again, not something that I always saw myself doing, but it is something that one of those things that I had to challenge myself and learn how to do. And the importance of to our industry, it's something we got to do.
Definitely. And then in terms of, and I'll get to Ashley real quick. I'm sorry to cut you off. In terms of
No,
just
it's okay.
manufacturing as a whole, did you ever see yourself, working in this space, or how did you get here?
So I actually stumbled across Morrison when I was leaving my last role. I was just looking for something a little bit more marketing driven, something that I could use my skills and kind of grow a career instead of just kind of a job. I ended up finding Morrison. I got really, really lucky. I live 6 minutes away from Morrison too. So it kind of just was a perfect match. I used to be obsessed with the show How It's Made. If you guys remember that show. So when I came here and I did my tour, I was like, this is perfect. This is so interesting. I get to use all of my videography and creation and design and background, and I get to build on that and be in an industry that really makes the world go round. So no, I didn't see myself in it, but now that I'm in it, I honestly couldn't see myself in a different industry.
Absolutely.
That's a great way to say it. Thank you, Mia. I'm sorry, Ashley. Well, let's go back to Ashley.
I grew up around the car industry, so I've always kind of been very curious about how things get taken apart and put back together. I've always been the kid who is running around the shop, exploring and asking 8 million questions. I'm just a curious person in general. I think that curiosity lends very well to the manufacturing field and in trades in general. I notice it's a trait almost everybody that I work with here has, whether they are welding or in machining assembly. They all have kind of this creative problem solving side, I would say, is kind of a common factor here. But I actually started my career off doing public relations for a local city in Indiana, so definitely didn't see switching to manufacturing feeder bowls. But when I bought my house out here, we're a little bit, like Mia said, now at Hoosier Feeder, I am less than 5 minutes down the road. I knew about people who worked here. I know the owner just from living in the community. And I'd had some prior manufacturing experience. I worked with another company in a town over when I first purchased this house. Because the drive to anywhere else, any of my other clients was just so far. I wanted something close. So that's kind of what got me in there. But once I was there, I learned so much about continuous improvement and how they built things and what happened behind the scenes. And it was just also fascinating to me to kind of watch these projects go from an engineering print or a conversation to, the finished project and seeing what that actually does. And then not only that, with here at Hoosier Feeder, we'll get little parts and we don't know what they do or what they're to. And then, you go to the grocery store and you're like, oh, wait, that's a piece of a deodorant. Like we built the machine that's feeding that. And I just think that's so cool. And to be able to use my experience from public relations and in marketing and be able to use that to just kind of, for lack of a better term, really brag on what we do here. Cause I just think it's fascinating, and the people, the personalities behind that are creating this are just, they're worth bragging about. It's exciting. They're very proud of what they do here. So it makes our jobs easy, because if they're proud of it and they want to show it off and tell me how it works, that's great.
Yeah, so it sounds like you have a pretty collaborative, open relationship to work with the machine builders, the welders that are piecing the equipment together. And I'm sure, I'm going to guess, and you can elaborate on it, it helps you in telling the story online and on social media. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. We are on the floor every day talking to the builders. We're asking questions. Well, what's this thing there? Why is that there? What does it do? And they are all more than happy to kind of tell me the backstory and give me information on it. Even if they don't know what the part is, they can tell you exactly what they're going to do to make sure it comes out oriented in the right way and also consistent. So yeah, being able to talk to them on the floor and then see them actually do the work too gives me invaluable information for being able to story tell about it.
So Sheri, circling back, well, actually, I want to circle back to Morrison real fast. It's a unique position in that the CEO, Nancy, it's a woman-led company, and Mia mentioned that her supervisor, Allison, who we worked with before on packaging OEM, is a female as well. How does that kind of change the dynamics for you guys, Mia, in the office? Can you just kind of explain on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it really helped. We also sit on the floor where it's a lot of the accounting people in our team too, who are also women. So it's really nice, and our HR representative as well. So we kind of sit on a women in business getting stuff done type of floor, which is really cool. And I think it kind of helped me have a lack of, like, it took away that fear from the beginning of not feeling like I fit or I was able to say something, because from the get-go I was surrounded by strong women who voiced their opinions and always had something to bring to the table. So it kind of was just like it set the standard when I got here, and that is always something that I really try and show other women or help other women with too, because it just takes that one time of you being in a meeting and saying something and being like, okay, I do bring this value add to the team, and that's awesome. And then you're just asking the right questions that bring someone else to ask the right question. So it has really helped me overcome that type of public speaking or talking to people in the room when I feel like I might not be the most educated on a topic. It kind of just helped take that fear away from the get-go.
Definitely. So in the event maybe a new employee came to you, either gender, and they asked you for advice on joining the company, would you encourage them to speak up?
Oh, absolutely. And I think I am really lucky. We work at a company where it's like every day it's that 1% getting better. It could be from an intern who's been here 2 weeks or someone who's tenured and been here 50 plus years. They're always like all ears open to everyone who's going to help us just raise the level of efficiency, be better every day. And there are no silly ideas. There are no bad suggestions. Like everything's worth looking at, taking an eye and improving efficiencies. And that's what's awesome too, is about the more younger people come into this industry, we bring new innovative ideas and new things that people might not have thought before, or just new ability to technology and AI and things that help kind of like speed the process up. So again, very lucky that we work in innovation, right? So we don't shy away from it.
How do you stay motivated in a male dominated industry? And off of that, what would be your advice to someone considering entering manufacturing, a female?
My advice portion of this would really just be one, find a mentor. So hopefully you're in a trade school, you're involved in some kind of program. If you feel a curiosity toward getting in the trades or getting into the manufacturing industry, I definitely recommend finding a mentor, finding someone, or getting in to a company like Morrison or Who's Your Feeder that are very training focused, right? Like we say, we can't teach you, how to be on time every day and how to show up for yourself and for the company, but we can teach you how to TIG weld better. Like we can expand upon your skills, and we can allow you the creative freedom to do things your own way when problem solving. But yeah, so I think finding a company that kind of operates like that, like we are willing to grow you through your time here, and then finding someone, if not finding a mentor and someone that can just kind of show you the ropes and explain to you how things have been done, are being done, and maybe opportunities that you can then come up with. The biggest thing is just staying curious in general. In general, asking questions, ask so many questions.
And actually, you said you were a very curious child. It seems that it has worked out really well for you.
Yes, yeah, I've done a lot of different things in my lifetime. So I think, anytime, like I said, my days are not the same from day to day, and I think that works very well being in manufacturing. If you are somebody who wants to sit at a desk and stare at the same thing all day every day, it might not be the industry that you're looking to go into. But if you like the excitement of doing something new, right, and finding a new challenge, every week there's a different problem solving opportunity.
I 100% agree with everything Ashley just said. The biggest thing I feel like that really helped me was finding that mentor, someone to help you understand the industry, get over some of those hurdles, especially someone who's a woman who's done it themselves before and they have the right tools to show you how. Two, again, we work in innovation. We work with an industry where there's new containers, new challenges, new products, new machines being made every single day. So no one knows what you don't know, and there's new knowledge to be found every day. So as long as you're continuing to educate yourself, staying curious, using those critical thinking and problem solving skills, thinking outside the box, those are things, again, like we can show you how to do something better when you get here, but that curiousness and that urge to learn, that's something that comes from within. So when you have that and you pair that with the industry we're in, it's just a perfect match.
And I just want to thank them again. Hoosier Feeder, Morrison Container Handling Solutions, and a little spoiler, I'll leak this here. The next stop on the Summer of Winning content is Morrison Container Handling Solutions.
Wow, mind blown. I love it.
It'll be a good time. I'm really excited to I've met some of their team, get to tour their facility. Actually just got my flight, so we are good to go.
Sounds great. I can't wait for that Summer of Winning tour content. We love it.
Yes, and so now, Sheri, let's listen to a few additional perspectives we got for National Women in the Trades Day.
That sounds great.
Welcome to the podcast, Amber. We're so happy to have you.
Yeah, thank you so much for the invitation. I'm honored. It's good to be in the industry and meet with others that are in the industry and have these conversations. So it's great.
Definitely. Amber, could you just introduce yourself? We know who you are, but could you introduce yourselves to our audience just so they know who we have here on the Downtime with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Amber Fritz. I am currently engineering manager at Reliance Worldwide Corporation, which is a major plumbing manufacturer in the United States. We used to be headquartered in Australia. We are now headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia. And I've been in the industry, we'll just say over 20 years. And I'm currently sitting on the board for Women in Manufacturing for the Georgia chapter.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up, Amber. So that's actually how we met. So for our audience, Sheri and I were at PAC Expo Southeast, which was in Atlanta, Georgia this year. And Amber was at the Women in Manufacturing booth.
Mm-hmm. Yep, trying to support and really encourage women in manufacturing, and not just women in manufacturing, but allies for women in manufacturing. So it's really important that you have the support, especially in a manufacturing environment where that's not a traditional role for a lot of women. So having that support and knowing that there's others out there going through the same things and having the same hardships and triumphs that you are is important.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great point. And, part of the reason we wanted to do this interview is that Women in the Trades Day is coming up on June 15th. Tell us a little bit about your experience in trying to bring together women who are in manufacturing and how, women in manufacturing can sort of address some pain points that women may have working in the trades.
Right. Okay. So a little history first. So my background is engineering. I'm a mechanical engineer from Georgia Tech, and my first role was at an aerospace, and then I've gone to appliances, and I've gone to medical devices, and now I'm in plumbing. So I've kind of traveled the whole gambit of manufacturing, not just in the plumbing field, but in a little bit of everything. And I think that is kind of an important point for women in manufacturing is you don't have to stay in whatever field that or whatever manufacturing environment that you just happen to be in. And a lot of times that's kind of how the roles, especially for women, have developed is that's just where you kind of fell into place, and that's just where you ended up. A lot of times people don't search out those manufacturing roles. And in a way, that's a shame because there's a lot of growth opportunities there. There's a lot of advancement. There's a lot of really fulfilling and satisfying work in the manufacturing industry. I mean, it's all over the place. You can go anywhere, not just in the U.S., but, anywhere. There's always manufacturing. And so, I think that's that's hard for, especially for younger generations to come up and say, I want to go into manufacturing. That's just not common. It's just kind of how you end up. But I really try to promote, actually making a conscious effort to be in manufacturing. And that's not just on the engineering or the actual on the floor, operators on the floor, although those are very fulfilling roles as well. But you're looking at finance and supply chain and marketing and HR. All those roles are available in manufacturing as well. And I think that's kind of a big point of, a big offering for manufacturing. As far as pain points, just knowing that you can do more. Operator on the floor. I've seen a lot of people start out at, minimum wage in shipping and receiving and working their way into positions on the floor and gaining educations, because a lot of companies offer education and training. And people, when you take advantage of that, you can really go far. And I've seen people who've started out as operator and go to plant manager before. And it's so very doable. And I think knowing that you can do that is a big thing. I think the knowledge just isn't always there.
Right.
Definitely, Amber. Can you emphasize, maybe you mentioned allies. How can you help others become an ally to women in manufacturing, or do you have any advice on that?
Yeah. Okay. So again, starting out, I didn't have a lot of women in leadership roles to really look up to. Totally different now. I mean, there are a lot more women in manufacturing leadership roles now than there have been before. Still not, equivalent to the percentage of women in manufacturing, but it's definitely growing. And one of the key things is you don't have to have a mentor who is a woman to have a mentor. There are a lot of people out there, a lot of men out there that are very willing and capable of being mentors or guiding you into the right direction. Sometimes you just got to ask, and maybe that's not always easy because you feel a little out of touch, maybe. But this is the thing. Ask. The worst thing they can say is, no, I'm not interested. And okay, but the best thing they can do is be a huge support for you and really give you guidance and be that champion for you for maybe that next role that's coming up. Leadership can put in those key words. Hey, I've really been working with so and so, and I think she's got a lot of potential that maybe others just don't see. So ask. That's what I say.
I love that, Amber. One of my favorite quotes is closed mouths don't get fed. So you'll never know. So I appreciate you sharing that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So can we ask you, Amber, how did you end up on the board for the Women in Manufacturing in Georgia's chapter?
Sure. So flipping through, just looking at some organizations that could be supportive, I really just wanted to have kind of a community of people who I could grow with. And my company actually is a member of Women in Manufacturing. They're at a corporate level. And it was just literally mentioned in passing at, a network event at the company that, hey, we have these opportunities. So I looked into the website, Women in Manufacturing website, and I saw that, there's all these events, there's plant tours, and I just signed up for one. And it was great. I went on a plant tour. Actually, it was at the Kia facility down in West Point, Georgia, which is an amazing manufacturing facility. If you ever have a chance to tour it, you should definitely do it. But I went there, and I was able to meet with some of the other women that were in the group that had been there a little bit longer, and then there were some that had joined just like I did, just saw it as an opportunity. But when I went on that tour, one, the tour was great. But two, just being with a group of women that I'd never met before, never met a single one, I didn't come with a friend or anything. And so I just, it's kind of forced you into having conversations. But wow, I mean, they were amazing. And it was like, hey, can I see you at the next event? I'm like, yeah, and so I just kind of got involved in that way. And I met some of the other members of the board and got to know them, and there were some open spaces, and it just seemed to match. Being in manufacturing was obviously key, but just having that desire to understand others that were kind of in my same position and to support them, that means a lot to me. That helped me as as an engineer and as a woman in manufacturing, and so I kind of just wanted to give back to that. So that's how I ended up on the board, and I've loved it. It's been great. I've been there actually 1 year this month. I've been on the board for 1 year this month.
Okay. Amazing.
But yeah, it's a great group of women, and it's been a great learning experience.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much for sharing, Amber. Go for it, Sherry.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us a little bit about what drew you to manufacturing broadly and engineering specifically. What was it about the field that really spoke to you?
Sure. Okay, so we'll roll back to high school. I enjoyed high school. I enjoyed academics. And I didn't really know what to do. I have hardly heard of engineering. It's like, okay, an engineer, a lawyer, or a doctor. Yeah, you hear those things as a child or as an adolescent. But I never really thought that much about it. I actually had planned to go into the Air Force Academy and was like ready to go. And I got my admissions to Georgia Tech, and it's like, okay, my world just kind of opened up a little bit, and I was like, oh, okay, well, let's do this. It's still close to home. I don't have to move to Colorado. So ended up at Tech, and it just felt that I really wanted that challenge. Engineering was definitely, I had the math background, but it was something that was probably going to be difficult for me. And I kind of was looking for that. So ended up with a mechanical engineering degree, and that world just started opening up as well, because then it's like, oh, wow, look at all these opportunities that I never even realized I had just being a high school student. And I think that's really key for young people today, is just having the exposure. I didn't have that, and I kind of just fell into it. But had I had that, I would have definitely been driven that way. And then as far as in manufacturing, I did an internship. Internship, again, in college, one of the best things you can do. It gets you in there, and it either tells you more of what you want to do, or maybe more of what you don't want to do. And my first internship was kind of that way. Truly enjoyed it, and it was with aerospace. But I learned I did not want to be niched into that aerospace only, and that's kind of why I went with the more broad mechanical engineering, because I knew from there I could do a lot of different things. I could go into appliances, or construction, or industry, or medical devices, and kind of have done a little bit of all that. So that's how I ended up kind of in manufacturing, was really getting that experience, having the opportunity to get that education, and then experiencing some of those roles through internship, which again, highly recommend doing for the younger generation. It just gets you in there, and you understand a little more about what the role is.
So, Sushmitha, thank you so much for joining us on the Downtime. We are honored to have you. For those of you who don't know, Sushmitha was a winner of the Consulting Specifying Engineers 40 Under 40 this year. So congratulations. That's such a great honor. And we're super excited to have you on the Downtime.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
So could you just kick us off by telling us a little bit about your background and experience, and what kind of brought you to where you are?
Yeah, sure. You can call me Sushi, by the way. Just everyone calls me Sushi, like the Japanese food.
Very cool.
So I am from a lot of places. I was born in India. I grew up in the Middle East, in Bahrain, and I lived in the UK for 10 years. I currently work for Arup as an electrical engineer, and mainly with building services, so building design. And I started my career in Bahrain for a consulting firm. In fact, I did work for power stations before that, but I was interested in sustainability and where I can actually make a difference, which is why I moved into building services. Then I did my sustainable energy masters in the UK, and I joined Arup there in 2013. So I've been with Arup 12 years now.
Wow.
And I moved to the US in Houston, Texas, 3 years ago. Exactly 3 years ago this week.
Oh, wow. That's so fun.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah, and since moving here, I've worked on some really great landmark projects like Houston Airport and a historic site in San Antonio, and really amazing projects. I moved here as a senior engineer 3 years ago, and then I worked, led the electrical design for a couple of these projects, and I am now the team lead for the electrical team for Arab South.
Absolutely. That sounds perfect. What kind of inspired you to want to work in electrical design? What was it about the field that really appealed to you?
Very interesting question. I think when I was 15, I actually wanted to do medicine, like to be a doctor. But I had this really inspirational mathematics teacher, and my dad was a physics teacher. My mom was a chemistry teacher. So we had a lot of, teachers in the house. My parents wanted me to do engineering, but I was like, no, I really like medicine. I'm amazed with the human body and how it functions. But my math teacher's like, wow, you've got a really good analytical mind. Maybe you should try engineering. And I was such a big fan of that teacher. I was like, okay, maybe I will consider engineering from this point. So I explored a couple of different fields, and I wanted to do electrical engineering. While I was doing electrical engineering, the most fascinating aspect was how that kind of forms the basis of a lot of everything we do, and how much impact that has in the world and in sustainability in general, like how humans have an impact on the world. And so power generation, sustainability, solar, renewables, all of that interested me a lot. And I do have a little bit of an architectural mind. So if I visit a space, I usually don't forget the layout of that space. It's kind of imprinted in my mind. So sometimes, like when I visit family friends, like after 10 years or something, I'm like, oh, did you move your couch? They're like, how did you move it?
That must be mind blowing. It's like, no. That's
yeah.
funny.
So, 3D spaces really amaze me, and I love buildings. And so when the juncture of buildings and architecture and sustainability and electrical design came together, I was like, this is what I want to do.
That's amazing. When I was reading through all of your successes when we were going through the 40 under 40 winners, you have so many projects that you've worked on. Is there one that you're just like, yeah, I did that. I'm so proud of that. That's my baby. Is there something that's super like special to you, a project that you're really proud of?
I have a couple of them actually, all for like different reasons. I think the one that is super close to my heart is the health center at the University of Nottingham in the UK, because I did my master's there, and while I was a student, I walked into this super rundown healthcare building, and I was like, oh my gosh, this space is so dingy and it makes me uncomfortable, and if I'm feeling unwell, I don't want to enter a space like this. It gives me no confidence at all. And then 4 years down the line, they were renovating that, and I got to work on a brand new health center for the campus. And I went on my maternity leave, and I came back, and the construction was happening during that time, and I got to do the design. I missed a little bit of the construction, but I then got back into finishing up the construction, and to stand in that building and to see students using that gave me a lot of satisfaction, because I was once a student in that campus and I really wanted to make a difference to that space. So that one's really close to my heart. Another one is University of Warwick, where I was involved. I was leading the electrical design for the sports center. Once we finished all of the construction and everything, one summer, this summer intern came to us from University of Warwick, and he was a badminton coach. And he was like, do you know we have this amazing new building, and the badminton courts are amazing. The lighting's so perfect. It's as if somebody thought about it. I'm like, let me show you something. And I pulled up the plans, and I'm like, I did the electrical design on that, specifically the lighting. That was very satisfying.
That is amazing.
Yeah, and then the Houston airport is really like kind of, giving back to the community. So when I first walked in, the Terminal D expansion was still under works, and it was, chaotic at the airport. And then last December, we flew back home to visit family, and we flew through Terminal D, and I was telling my daughter all about it, like, I was part of this new terminal. So yeah.
Fantastic.
That's awesome. Sushi, could you tell us a little bit more about your interest in sustainability? How did you get into that space?
So I grew up in the Middle East, and I have to say it's very similar to Texas, where there is a lot of excess in everything. And then when I moved to the UK, I could see a stark difference in how people live their lives. It's a more like frugal or like more intentional style of living. If people didn't need something, they did not get it. And there was always a question, do I really need it? Is it going to help me? Is it going to help the environment? So people are always conscious of that. And so we kind of absorbed that into our family a lot. And so we got rid of all the plastics in the house, and we never went shopping without a bag, and small things. And we were trying to get our daughter to get into that lifestyle. And I've always been passionate about doing something for the environment. And then when I moved to Texas, it was a big big change for me because everything was in excess. And I remember the first time when I went shopping at a grocery store and somebody double bagged the milk can, and I had tears in my eyes. I was like, why are you doing that? And my husband's like, don't do that, don't get into trouble. So I feel quite passionately about the world we're going to leave behind for the next generation. So I strongly believe that every little thing can help, and someone's going to see you do it, and it's going to cause a ripple effect, and that's going to impact either your friends or family or colleagues. Someone's going to watch us. People are watching us all the time. So no matter how small that act, it might be, it might inspire somebody else to be more careful. And that's how we can make a difference.
Come for the tariffs, stay for National Safety Month. So yeah, if you didn't know, June is National Safety Month. And over at Plant Engineering and Control Engineering, we have been highlighting some safety content. I would highly suggest you go over to Plant Engineering's LinkedIn page, Control Engineering's LinkedIn page. We have been posting a ton of content around electrical and arc flash safety, flammable gas safety, equipment safety. You can find stuff on eyewash safety, looking for eyewash stations. Sarah, if you're not listening, if you're not watching on YouTube, Sarah was just wiping her eyes. So so much safety content over at Plant Engineering on LinkedIn and Control Engineering on LinkedIn. Give us a follow. We are constantly posting new content over there, not just for National Safety Month, but year round. So go give us a follow. In honor of National Safety Month, we're going to do something here on the Downtime we have never done before. And brace yourselves because it's going to be a wild ride. Don't know how this is going to go, so fingers crossed that we all make it out alive. But I did want to say, before we get into this next segment, it's going to get serious for a minute. And that's so unlike me, so you know it's real.
All right.
Yeah. So I went through a lot of Reddit posts to come up with this next segment, which we're going to be diving into some Reddit workplace safety horror stories. First and foremost, a lot of these that I got are from r/workplace accidents, I think, is the subreddit. Now, a caution to you. If you are like me, and you are sensitive to people being hurt or even killed, do not go. Just don't. I want to make it clear, like, I am not squeamish in the least. I am a horror girly. Like, horror is my favorite genre of movie and book. If some random character in a movie gets their face sawed off, no problem. I'm good. If it's a real person, absolutely not. It will traumatize me. If I know that someone actually, like, some real human got hurt, no, absolutely not. So if you're like me and you can't stomach someone in real life getting hurt, do not go to these Reddit posts because there are pictures and videos that are going to haunt you. So do not do. Please
don't do that. Instead, come here, to the YouTube page for the Downtime, and you can have our nice family-friendly props.
And I'd also like to point out that the few stories that I've picked out for today's episode do not feature anyone who died. I could not, I just don't think that's right. I don't think it's right to, exploit someone's demise. I could not do that in good conscience. So the stories we have, everyone lives. We're going to talk about it. We're going to dive into what our reactions are to some of these stories. The last one is a wild one, so you're going to want to hang out for that because I have thoughts. So, having gotten my disclaimer out of the way, and thank you for listening to my disclaimer. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Why don't we kick it off? All right, so we're going to kick off story one. And I'm not going to reveal any names or any identifying characteristics, but we're just going to read what someone posted on Reddit. All right, so let's go. Not my current job, but a previous one. I worked at a high-tension transmission tower construction. One guy was on a tower fixing one cable. The electric line was off, but a storm not so far was approaching. Somehow, the storm caused an induced shock on the line, and that guy, who was not with the proper gloves, got the shock and fell towards the ground. He was using a rappel rope and belt and did not hit the ground. He passed out for some minutes before rescue teams arrived. Fortunately, he survived with just dizziness. Whew.
Wow.
Thoughts? This guy was not wearing the appropriate safety material. Like, what do you think, Sarah?
The whole thing is scary. I mean, that's the big takeaway, and he's fortunate that he's all right. It wasn't even more fatal. It wasn't more serious, I should say. It just showcases how important the proper safety equipment is, and there's a reason that it exists.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And, organizations should have a safety plan in place. And, I think it just goes to show that you've got to follow those protocols. You've got to wear the appropriate PPE and the appropriate safety equipment if you're going to do something like this for your job. That's terrifying. So
very scary. All right. Are we ready to move on to story number 2?
Let's do it.
Story number 2. We have these lifts that go as high as 50 feet in the air. One day, some worker decided to go to the highest it could go to retrieve some cases without a safety harness. Missed a step, fell through the beams holding the cases all the way to the ground, resulting in both legs being broken. The company didn't pay for anything since he didn't follow the proper safety procedure.
I think we're safe now to read the rest of these stories.
I should have had this hat on before I heard he fell, Sheri.
I know, same. Like, the lack of a safety harness. Oh my gosh. Like, no. What are you thinking? So, yeah, 50 feet is a lot higher than you think it is. 50 feet is massive. That's a long distance to not have a safety harness. How?
Right. It's extremely scary. I know he both broke of his legs. I'm happy and fortunate he's alive. Hopefully he can walk. But yeah, some of these stories, Sheri found all these stories for us, so thank her. If you're enjoying these scary situations, you can thank the Tariff Queen.
Oh, thanks so much. Yeah, this last one, I have thoughts. And this is actually a story, I think, that was posted recently. And the person involved wants advice on whether they should file a claim. And I have thoughts, and I'll share them with you when we get done reading it. But I don't think there's any good person in this story. So if you are listening to us on SoundCloud or Spotify or even over on Plant Engineering or Control Engineering, Sarah and I are wearing hard hats now because we feel like we need to secure ourselves from these very unsafe stories. So
yeah, and to highlight, even we don't necessarily need to be wearing these hard hats to record the podcast. I'll acknowledge that. But the importance of safety in the workplace. That's our message. That's our goal with this.
Absolutely.
And to look cute.
And to look cute. We're adorable. So, story number 3. This is the final one for this episode. I, 19 male, had an accident at work that ended up breaking/crushing my toe. I had been taken off a job to be put with who we'll call A. A, who is my superior / the engineer who had told me to use a scissor lift, which I told him I didn't want to use. I don't have the qualifications or know-how to use it. He left me in the room alone, and when maneuvering the scissor lift, it didn't stop and ended up running over my toe, making a horrible crushing noise. As I checked my foot, the room looked like somebody had been shot. This is around 10 a.m. I rang A to tell him what had happened, and he came in laughing and recording me, then putting it in his Snapchat story before helping me. He then proceeded to take me to the hospital that was 50 minutes away instead of the one that is 5 minutes away because there's less wait time. I arrived at the hospital at approximately 11:15 a.m. He then left me in the hospital alone. I waited an hour and a half to be seen for the first time. They then x-rayed and sent me back to the waiting area, and then they proceeded to not clean it and just bandaged it up and gave me some antibiotics and said, walk on your heel and you'll be fine. 1:20 p.m. I was then picked up by A at 2:50 p.m. Once I had gotten home, I had to go to the hospital again. This time, the one that is closer to home is the one that was only 5 minutes away from the job. As I arrived at the hospital at approximately 4:06 p.m., my boss, C, finally rang me to ask if I was okay. It took C 6 hours to ring me. I got into the hospital and they ended up cleaning my wound, removing my toenail, cleaning it, putting it back in, and cleaning my toe again, wrapping my toe up, and then gave me a boot to wear so I can actually walk. Fast forward 6 weeks of being off work, I reminded C on the Wednesday that I was back at work on Thursday. He then rang me up, telling me not to come into work because I need to have a wellness check meeting with him and that he should be able to get it done on Friday. On the Thursday that I had a return to work interview as well as a disciplinary meeting, he gave me 4.5 working hours to get ready for a disciplinary meeting. I arrived at the disciplinary meeting and he gave me a written warning for not wearing safety boots, which I accepted was suitable, and also using machinery I am not trained to use. But I put the point across that you took me off a job to put me on this job knowing full well that A is afraid of heights. I told A that I didn't want to use it, and I said that in front of 3 other employees. But he still made me go on it, and he made me feel like if I didn't do it, I was being difficult, and the last time someone said no to doing stuff, C and the owner tried to sack him. I was doing what my superiors told me to do, and I'm getting disciplinary for it. I felt pressured to use it by A, and then he also recorded me laughing at me in pain, bleeding all over the floor, which I'm sure could be classified as bullying. Do you guys think I'll win the claim if I did a claim or no? Should I claim? Boy, I have thoughts.
I want to hear him.
I don't think anyone's a winner in this story. I really don't. I mean, if you're not qualified to use equipment, it doesn't matter what someone else pressures you to do, you don't do it. I mean, just use your common sense. Don't do it. If you don't know how to use a scissor lift, just don't do it. And I get feeling pressure to do something, but even if the end result is that you lose your job, I would rather be out of a job working for a company that would encourage me to use equipment that I don't know how to use than be dead or injured. Nobody's a winner here. What are your thoughts, Sarah?
Taking videos and photos for the Snapchat?
Yes. No way.
No, that doesn't fly. If this were to become a claim, I don't know who would win. Honestly, it's very messy on both sides.
I don't either. And I think we should include a little disclaimer. We're not attorneys and we're not giving anyone any advice. We're just reacting to Reddit posts. So we're not qualified to give anyone legal advice. I don't know if this guy should file a claim or not. And we're certainly not here to make that judgment call. But there is so much wrong with this story. I just the guy should not have been using a lift that he wasn't qualified to use, no matter what his idiot of a coworker said. The coworker is a jerk for videotaping him and putting him on Snapchat. That's not okay at all. Do I think the guy needed a disciplinary hearing? I don't know. See, that's the thing I'm stuck on. What about you?
I think so. I think yes. And maybe it would be beneficial for the company not to have this employee and the company or the employee not to be at this company. It just doesn't sound like a great fit to me. Again, I am not Sarah Wynn, attorney at law. This is Sarah Wynn sounding off her takes from Reddit that Sheri pulled together for us. And I do want to say, Sheri, in the event you ever fell, got hurt, I wouldn't stop and take a Snapchat video.
I am so grateful for that. I mean, thank you.
And because I'm not on Snapchat.
Me either, because I'm not 15.
Two, because it's not nice.
And it's not nice. That's not something you do when your coworker is injured and in pain and bleeding. Also,
No, and I had a fall on the last trip. This has not been addressed on the downtime, and I'm going to bring it up because it was a safety hazard.
Yeah.
I was at a hotel. I'm not going to say any names, but I was with someone that we work with, and I slipped and fell on a puddle of water. Fortunately, that employee, I'll just say that, very nice, very kind, helped me up. Did he take Snapchat pictures? No.
No, because he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
And that's a mean thing to do.
We won't reveal your identity.
But we appreciate you.
You helped me in that moment. I'll never forget.
So, Sarah,
Yes.
before we wrap up, do you have any workplace horror stories? I mean, nothing's going to top this, I don't think. Do you have any workplace horror stories that you can remember?
My first job, I worked at a grocery store, and people would get hurt a lot, hands. We would have to go out and get all the carts and bring them back in, and it's heavy. It bangs on your hands like that. We also had a baler in this grocery store, and we were trained to not touch it. So I never did. I wasn't taught to do it. Instead, I worked in the cash office. I was in charge of cash money. I wasn't in charge of the baler. So altogether, a scary moment like that, no, not so much. Sheri, what a great episode from tariffs and the tariff queen, safety stories, and of course, my personal favorite part, talking to a few women in the manufacturing industry for Women in the Trades Day.
Absolutely. It was a great episode. Yeah. So I think this wraps up yet another episode of The Downtime. And we are so grateful for you for spending your downtime with us. And thank you, Sarah, for co-hosting with me. This has been a great time.
Thank you, everyone. Peace.
And we'll catch you in the next one. Bye.